Call this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mia will now be taking roll call.
Roll call. Leila Gonzalez.
Here.
Jasmine Salceda.
Here.
Leonardo Moreno.
Here.
David Gutierrez.
Here.
Victoria Cázares.
Here.
Mia Garcia. Here. Jose Quintana.
Here.
Alexandra Hain.
Here.
Cecily Rojas.
Here.
Mia Castillo.
Here.
Andrea Cordova. Sherlyn Ochoa.
Here.
Daniel Ortiz.
Here.
Vivian de la Cruz.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Moving on.
Comments?
Go ahead.
Andrea missed 1 2 meetings already.
This is your second
So
time.
today you guys are at Environmental Services. This is one of our departments, and we have John Porter, the Environmental Services Director, and Ruby Miranda, Keep Laredo Beautiful, which is a 501c3, right?
Yes.
501c3 nonprofit with the city. Just like you've gone to the departments, they're here to give you some information. This is not a department when you guys fill out your internships that anyone always goes to. No one really thinks of this first. A lot of you all think about attorneys and the health department, but it's really good that you guys are here and they do, a lot of different things that you wouldn't necessarily think of. So feel free to ask questions and hear from them.
All right, well, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Again, I'm John Porter, I'm the director. And Ruby, she's our Keep Laredo Beautiful manager.
Yes,
right?
program manager.
She was executive director, but then they changed her title. I've got a short PowerPoint.
Victoria, no, you guys want to move to the side maybe so that the camera can also capture.
So, again, we're in the Environmental Services Department, but actually now we're officially called the Environmental and Solid Waste Services Department because we also handle the landfill and sanitation and recycling. And so I don't know, are we going to host them over at the landfill as well?
I mean, yeah, if that's what they want. I don't think they actually want it, but we can have them go.
Actually, and I think for attorneys that are people interested in becoming attorneys, a lot of it has to do with environmental. There's a lot of environmental law, and that's a big aspect. And then on the solid waste side, there's an enormous amount of laws that we have to go through. It's the most regulated industry in Texas, landfills, so there's a lot of opportunities if you're an attorney over there. And then if anybody's interested in science and engineering, both the environmental part and the solid waste part requires a lot of science and engineering. And so it would be nice to see people that are interested in those fields come and visit because it's a lot more exciting than I think you would think. But I'm only going to go over the environmental aspect, and if you come visit me over at Solid Waste, I'll go over that. I'm not going to read this. You all can read it if you want, but here's our mission statement. And so within this building we have stormwater, Keep Laredo Beautiful, hazardous materials, and illegal dumping as our main focus. And so under our hazardous materials division, we regulate the storage and handling of hazardous materials since there's so many warehouses throughout the city. And so we go out and make sure that they store it properly and that they follow the safety guidelines, and we do that through issuance of permits. And we have inspectors that go out and make sure that their hazardous materials inventory statements are kept up to date, and that allows fire department or emergency personnel to know what's in a warehouse in case there's a spill or a fire. That way we know what's in there. And then it also plays a role in public safety, but because we want to keep these warehouses away from neighborhoods, and so it's important to have that information. Legal dumping, another big component, and I should also say illegal dumping slash, I guess that would entail, litter enforcement, if somebody's dumping oil, if somebody's dumping, tires, and so we've got enforcement officers that go after people that illegally dump. We've got cameras that we can put on telephone poles that will automatically take pictures, and so in this picture, that's how we caught this person dumping the tires in the place that says don't dump tires. And we do the enforcement through citations, and again, we use different tools like these cameras to do investigations.
John, where should these things actually, like people in the city, I think it is a problem that we have a lot and we hear it, where illegal dumping happens, but where should people actually be dumping these things that community is not aware of?
At the landfill.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important to visit the landfill. And especially with tires, if it's residential, you go on the weekend, we'll take 4 tires for free, and then also to get rid of household trash, it's free up to a ton. So it's really just a trip out there, but it's a free service.
There's certain areas for each thing. There's an area for the tires. There's an area for all the bulky items, all the furniture and stuff. And then you have your area for all the trash. And then before you enter, there's also the area that we can get the electronics, and which is about to talk about right now.
And so we also have the household hazardous waste / electronic waste collection center out at the landfill. And so we take household chemicals. We don't take chemicals produced by, produced commercially, because that's regulated under federal and state law. But anything that's used in your house is exempt from federal and state law. We don't want to put it in a landfill because it's a fire hazard and you get a landfill fire. So we have the service, it's free to the public. And we also are working on a reuse program where we're going to reblend the paints and then give out the paints to anybody that can use that paint. So we're going to do a paint recycling program. And then we also have 2 collection events per year. We've got one coming up in December 3rd? 2nd. December 2nd, and that's usually at the Park and Ride. And so going back to use of science, obviously a lot of chemistry used in this and science, and so here's an example of how you use science, or anybody that's interested in science with HHW collection sites.
I have a question. What happens when the landfill just gets full? What do y'all do? Has it ever gotten to that point? Y'all just make another one?
So what we do is we put trash in cells. We call them cells, and they're lined cells, and that's where the engineering comes from. It has to be a specially lined cell because you can't have it leach into the groundwater system. And so usually it's a synthetic geogrid or a clay liner. And each cell, we're going out for a bid right now for 2 new cells.
What are cells though?
They're areas where you put the trash in, and as you put trash in, you have to cover it with soil, and that's called your daily cover, and you just keep kind of building up and up and up, and we can go as high as our permit allows, and at that point, then we got to build a new cell and start all over again. But eventually, we'll run out of capacity at the main landfill, but we purchased a private landfill off of 359 called Ponderosa, and so probably in about 10 to 12 years, we'll move operations out there, and that's good for probably about 100 years of capacity.
What do they do with the recycling?
The recycling is actually, we've got a private company that does the sorting and the selling, and then we have a profit share with them. So they'll find buyers throughout the United States or Mexico, like cardboard, that's easy to find buyers for. But yeah, they basically sell it to buyers, and they make new cardboard boxes and recycle the plastic. And anything that we don't have a market for, unfortunately, goes back into the landfill.
And for collection and disposals, how do you make it known? Because I know a lot of illegal dumping is just because they don't know where the areas is to dump it.
So, yeah, we have on, TV, radio, especially on our HHW events, but we also have, social media, newspaper, and I think generally speaking, at least with talking to our enforcement folks, it's generally, it's laziness. People know where to get rid of.
And for
things from.
social media, do you just put it on the Keep Laredo Beautiful page, or do you put it in the Laredo page?
We work with the PIO, and we put it on the city's page as well.
Environmental Services has their
And
own.
environmental.
Yeah, they have their own Facebook page.
And enforcing the regulations, does HHW take charge of that, or does LPD?
No, we do, yeah. And we worked with, not on the HHW, but on hazardous waste, because again, HHWs, you typically don't see a lot of that illegally dumped, but we've worked with PD, their ordinance division, and we have had a couple of cases. There was a guy that went out to a warehouse, claimed that he had, because if you're gonna transport hazardous waste, you have to have an EPA ID number, and you have to take it to an approved chemical landfill or disposal site. The nearest one is in Robstown. And so what this guy did is he went to a warehouse. He didn't manifest it properly, so he violated state and federal law there. He just created a bill of lading, which is not how you handle hazardous waste. Then he transported it, so he broke another federal and state law. And then he ended up throwing it in a empty lot, which is again another federal and state law. And he committed fraud by telling this company that he could get rid of it and get payment. And so he probably had 6 or 7 felonies there. And so we were able to hunt down the waste because he had still left the information on there. And we called the manufacturer and found out who that manufacturer had sent it to in Laredo, and then went and talked to that warehouse, and then they told us who they had paid to get rid of. So in that case, we went through PD and through the DA's office.
And how can these citations vary monetarily?
So actually in the city's environmental citations by ordinance are some of the most, most are under 500, but all of our ordinances say 500 minimum. And then the state law only allows up to 2,000 with the exception of illegal dumping. The legislature changed it to where now cities can go up to 4,000. And that's per incident, per violation per day. So if there's an environmental violation and it exists, we could go out each and every day and cite for that.
And are there certain areas where you notice more illegal dumping occurring?
Oh, yeah.
And what areas would you say that is?
Generally in West Laredo by the rail tracks, there's a lot of illegal dumping there. I would say around there and probably along 359, which ironically is
So close.
so close to the landfill.
And for the collections, how often do you have them?
So these were open Monday through Friday, or actually we changed it. We're open Tuesday through Saturday at for household, and then we've got the 2 collection events, which is in the December and usually in May, and that's at the park and ride. And it's from 8 to 1 or 2. Yeah.
What happens when people throw stuff in the river? Is that also in your jurisdiction or not?
It is, but then you also get into IBWC, which is International Boundary and Water Commission, and then you also run into where I think there was a cement company that had been discharging into Sombrerito Creek, and so EPA got involved with that. And on our stormwater side, we maintain all the stormwater system in Laredo, and in older cities like New York and Chicago, they have a combined sewer system, which means when it rains, all that rainwater goes into the same pipe that the sanitary sewer goes into, and it goes and gets treated. The problem is when you get heavy rains, you have sanitary sewer overflows because it can't handle the volume of rainwater and sanitary water, and so you end up polluting the creeks and rivers. But in Laredo, we have separate storm sewer systems, so you've got your sanitary coming from your toilets and from your sinks, and then you've got the storm, which drains the rainwater. And so the rainwater is not being treated, but the sanitary is. And so that's why it's important to reduce pollution prior to it going into the creeks and river. And so we have vacuum trucks that go out and clean out debris and sediment. And then we also have a water quality monitoring requirement. And so whenever it rains, we've got 5 stations throughout the city that have automatic samplers, and so it will sample that water. You want to get what's called the first flush, it's first 15 minutes, because that's where you're going to have the highest pollutant load, and then we send that off to a lab in Corpus, and we test for right around 30 different types of pollutants, and it's everything from heavy metals to like pesticides.
How long do these tests take to process?
So usually we have to bring them back here. We have to put them in separate bottles, and then we do we have to put them on ice. They also have a preservative depending on what you're testing for, and so we have to get it to the lab within 24 hours of sample. And then it usually takes maybe about a week to get the results back.
And with all the stormwater that you're not able to use or like reuse, what do you do with it then?
That just goes in. That goes down the river.
Have you ever seen our stormwater inlets like on the ground? So all of that just goes automatically to the Rio Grande. So that's why we need to prevent stormwater pollution like that, and no trash or anything goes into our Rio Grande, because that doesn't get
Treated.
Yeah.
treated the way the other one does.
And you'll see some areas, we do have some areas where we try and collect that. We've got grates, and well, there's grates on the inlets, but we also have on the outfalls, we have metal grates that try and hold back trash. But by and large, anything that is thrown on the street ends up in one of the creeks, which ends up in the river. And so that's why it's important to try and reduce the trash, which we call floatables. So we call it floatable control under our department. And then we've got outreach and presentations. That's another big component to the Environmental Services Department, where we go out to schools, we go out to community events, and try and educate the public on what you're learning about right now. And then we also do drainage projects, because it's all related to stormwater. So we have funded almost all the drainage projects throughout the city to reduce flooding. We also do floodplain improvements, and here's some of the different projects that we've worked on or we're currently working on. We're doing a floodplain study for Zacate and Manadas Creek, and that's important to determine what areas will flood, and also determine, because we have requirements for detention, to hold back stormwater and slowly let it drain. Otherwise, if we don't have that, then when you have a developed area, you have a much, when you have just grass, it's able to get absorbed. When you have a parking lot, all that stormwater flushes off the property, and so you end up flooding properties downstream. So that will be helpful in determining how our stormwater management ordinance has been, and also identify areas that we can get the public out of floodplain, because you have to buy flood insurance if you're buying a new house and you're in a floodplain. And so if we're able to show that we reduce that, then we'll lower people's cost of living because they won't have to buy flood insurance for their mortgage. Chacon Creek Flood Reduction Project, that's a big project that's 20 years in the making. And I started back in 2000 on that, and I'm still working on that. That's with the Corps of Engineers. But that project's going to do ecosystem restoration, flood control, and park space in the Chacon Creek area. And that's probably going to be $82 million project, and hopefully we'll secure funding for that next year. We have various drainage projects, the Riverbend Ecosystem Restoration Project near downtown, kind of southwest. There's an area called the Riverbend. We did a ecosystem restoration project in that area. It's about 77 acres. And we created artificial islands for bird nesting, removed salt cedar and carrizo cane, and then planted native vegetation. And that was about a $5 million project. East Chacon drainage projects, that's all the area coming from Independence Park, and also we rebuilt the bridge at Century City, where we had some severe flooding back in 2010, and I think there was a young girl that ended up drowning at that location, and so we've raised that bridge out of the floodplain, and so we won't have that as a low water crossing and be a problem from now on. And then also all the hike and bike trail projects we fund because there's a nexus to stormwater. So we've done the Zacate Creek hike and bike trail, the Chacon Creek hike and bike trail, the Upper Zacate hike and bike trail, some components of North Central, and then we've got a grant to do some trail in Independence Hills, and then also the River Vega, which is going to be out by the Water Museum. And so if you see a trail that's by a creek, then this department's worked on it. And that's all I've got for environmental services, but I'm going to turn it over to Ruby, and she can talk about Keep Laredo Beautiful.
Okay, so KLB's, has anybody heard of Keep Laredo Beautiful? Okay, great. So with KLB, just in case y'all are unfamiliar, y'all are able to get community service hours, okay? So if y'all ever need community service hours, y'all can go ahead and reach out to me. And as our mission statement says there, our main goal is litter prevention, beautification, community improvement, and the minimization of impact of solid waste. So these are the 4 things we focus on. Just planting trees, and it can be plants as well. Installation of public art, litter pickup, education, and outreach. Education-wise, we try to focus on, of course, anything having to do with litter, anything having to do with recycling, anything having to do with environmental. That's what KLB tries to go out there and teach to all ages. Why tree planting? Some of y'all may not know, but the more trees we have around our city, the more chances we'll have of cooler air and rain. So it's very important for us to have that in our homes, in our parks, wherever it may be. As stated there, we get shade from it. It helps our animals as well, and stormwater runoff. And by stormwater runoff, I mean is if you have a tree, it's gonna soak in that water. So there's less possible chance of having flooding. So more, yes?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
But sorry to interrupt you, but sorry.
You're fine.
Are there certain types of trees that you plant? Like, is it only male trees, female trees, only more, maybe only one? Like,
So depending on the area is the type of tree we try to plant. Depending on the area, for example, we're about to do Arbor Day at Bartlett or Jovita Park now. There's only certain type of trees that work good in that area. Then where we have at North Central Park, they're able to put in a little bit more. And we always try to go native. Okay, we don't try to get invasive trees. We want to try to go native. That's what's going to help us in our community. And there's a possibility that it's going to grow a lot better here. Okay, for example, our live oaks, our red oaks, our go ahead.
And do you ever plant trees that are fruit bearing for the
No.
public to use?
Sometimes it's better if we don't, because of the fact of if nobody's gonna pick up the fruits once after they're hanging, they're gonna fall. And where is it gonna end up? It's gonna end up in our Rio Grande. So we try to go more with, our oaks and other trees.
Well, but it doesn't exactly damage the environment, does it?
If it ends up in the Rio Grande, yes, it can.
of drinking water.
Yes, their source of drinking water. And not just that, it might affect, we don't know, whatever species may be in the water. So our aqua life, yes.
Where do you source your trees from?
Where do we purchase them?
Yes.
Depending, we go and request quotes, depending on our vendors. So we ask for vendors across Texas, and whoever is able to give us the best prices, we usually go with.
But
Yes?
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. You first, yeah.
But why don't you plant like fruit trees in like other parts?
And other parts?
Yeah, like not really like the real.
Well, it's anything, like any tree at any park, if it's not being maintained, if we're not maintaining the trees, picking out the fruits, they're gonna end up in the ground. Sometimes they can get stuck on, run over, or eventually, how I said, it's just gonna give us more litter to pick up than any benefit that we'll have. The trees we choose is more beneficial to us. Yes?
To add on to what you were saying, doesn't the peels and the actual fruit in itself, once it decomposes, goes into the soil and it adds nutrients and it adds more
It
nutrients to the
can,
soil?
but let's say if you're on a bicycle at North Central Park and there's an orange, there's possibility of tripping, there's possibility of running over. So it's just better for us to go with shade trees that's gonna help those runners at the park, provide them shade. Any other questions?
Oh, have you ever tried doing like is it where you pick fruits and stuff and you like sell it to the community? It was
No, we've
with a
never
bunch
tried
of like it's basically like flowers too, where the farmer puts a bunch of makes a bunch of flowers and people go pick them and they however much cost they give to them. Wouldn't it be like positive for you and for the community? Like you get money for other resources, for other things, and you get to plant trees.
It would be beneficial, but I don't have the staff in order to.
You're one person.
I'm one person, yes. KLB is currently one person with an intern from TAMIU. So it is, we would love to do so much more. Honestly, if it was up to me, I would do everything. There's so many projects, yes.
And is there an age requirement for a person to be an intern?
An intern, okay, so the internship is actually through TAMIU, so you'd have to be a TAMIU student. But volunteers, I take all ages.
And have you ever thought about maybe partnering with RISC?
Yes, we have partnered with them in the past, depending on the events that are being hosted. Yes. So public art. When we do our public art, we try to focus on an environmental, something having to do with environmental. For example, on that one, you'll see how it says keep it clean. In other words, keep our storm inlets clean. We have Our Lady of the Water. I know a lot of people have questions of the Lady of the Water, but it's supposed to represent the Rio Grande. So as you see those hearts coming out of it, it's a flow of water. And we have our litter pickup, which we work with all, as I mentioned, all ages of volunteers. I love it when schools reach out to us that they want to host a litter pickup event, and they get to see everything pretty much that we're being picked up, and it's always cool to find the most distinguished item. There's some really interesting items that you see out there, and they all enjoy it, and it's very impactful. And of course, as we mentioned, we do this in order to prevent all of these items to end up in our Rio Grande as well. In our storm, try to prevent stormwater pollution, because the guys here may go out there and try to clean the stormwater inlets, but there's only so much they can do, and Laredo just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So we put in our part to prevent that as well.
And have you ever thought of volunteering with NHS in multiple high schools? Because one of the principles is that we have to volunteer.
Yeah, as I mentioned, anybody can reach out to us, volunteer. I do actually send out our events to all counselors in Laredo, so it's up to them if they pass it on to the students. But I do have some schools that do get involved and reach out to me. Same thing for TAMU and LC students as well, and the younger kids. The other thing as well, when we do education outreach, which is we're doing right now, we do like to be out in the community. And that's part of something else, but that is at TAMU, where we try to recruit our volunteers. To me, our volunteers are very important. Without my volunteers, I'm not unable to do anything around the city, because as stated, it is just me. So the more volunteers we get, always the better. So I'm very grateful for them. And that's it. Do you all have any questions?
Do you have like a business card or anything I could use to contact you?
Yes, I don't have a card at the moment, but I can give you my info.
I can send you all their contact info.
Yes, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on next to the agenda, discussion with possible action on a collaboration with Nuevo Laredo Youth Council, sponsored by Leonardo Moreno, co-sponsored by Nina Martinez and Carlota. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Tori. So last week, I was in Nuevo Laredo and I was talking to a person who is in charge of the youth council over there, the person in charge of the Nuevo Laredo Youth Council. And I was talking to him and he was saying, I didn't talk to him for the youth council. I was talking to him for a project I'm making over there. So then he was telling me how they also have a youth council, because I told him that I was part of the youth council over here. And he was telling me that he would love to have a meet with both councils to talk about issues that are relevant to both of us. Because let's be real here. Like in Laredo we have issues that we can't control, because they are mainly from Nuevo Laredo, but they also affect us. So I think it would be really good if we had a meeting with the Nuevo Laredo Youth Council, and if we could talk about these issues that we can't really control, but affect us.
So what issues were you thinking that you would speak about? Like, give me an example of something.
Maybe contamination to the Rio Grande could be a topic we could talk about, because we aren't the only ones responsible of keeping the Rio Grande clean, but them as well. And I know Nuevo Laredo does litter a lot, and especially in the Rio.
And how would we help with that? How would we collaborate?
We could talk about them on real solutions, or things we could implement. Yes?
Not just talking about things that we can implement, but also working together with a Nuevo Laredo Youth Council to possibly coordinate an education event for both Nuevo Laredo and Laredo, so that way we can not only spread awareness on the issues, but also inform the public on next steps that we can take.
And where would we implement those educations?
Well, honestly, we would have to discuss that with the Nuevo Laredo Youth Council, and so that way we could coordinate.
Karen, you had a question?
Yeah, so, Leo, is this part of the municipality across, or is it separate?
It's part of the municipality.
So our Mayor Trevino, he is very big on binational relations, and he has created, more than other mayors, a good relationship with the Nuevo Laredo mayor. I think before you continue the conversations, I think just how we had a sidebar for mental health stuff, we could have you with a subcommittee. I can get you in touch with the mayor. He may be actually interested in this because it connects to youth, and because he is so focused on binational relations, he may be interested in, also being able to get alcaldesa involved too. So it's, it's a little bit more solidified.
And this would be held in person or virtually?
Virtually, yeah.
And what are we gonna do about those of us who are unable to speak Spanish?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we could get translators. I mean,
when we've done it in the past, what we do, because we do have binational projects, we there is people that, you know, will say an idea in English or Spanish, or we have, I think there's some of you here, myself too, speak both languages, and so that does work. We also have, at least especially on the Laredo side, many of them also know English.
Yeah,
So
I was
most
gonna
of
say
the
that.
conversation would probably be in English, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know most council members over there speak English or understand English, so I wouldn't think that would be a big problem, and I think we could get through that easily.
I would
Yes.
suggest you make a motion to maybe do a subcommittee, and you can kind of be the lead, and we can have that conversation and move it forward so
Mhm.
that we don't kind of go around here
Okay.
too much.
So motion to create a committee on this matter.
Second.
Yes.
Second.
Okay. So we're good.
So you have to,
All in favor?
Yes.
okay, now you have to name the committee. So you
Okay.
can ask who's interested, or you can appoint. I would say
Okay.
3,
Me?
4 people
Yes.
max.
So
Cool.
you,
I'm interested.
Carlota,
Carlota.
Charlene.
Mia, can you take down the names too?
okay, so Mia, Carlota, Daniel, anybody else?
Sure.
Shirley. Okay.
And then we'll report back at the next meeting.
Okay.
Leo.
Yes. Viviana. Okay. Yeah.
And then
Okay. So.
Bert.
Oh. Okay.
How big should subcommittees be?
I would say no more than 3, 4 people.
Okay, so right now,
We have 6.
Mia also wants to.
So then Leo's already a part, Leo's already considered it since he's the one leading it, so
Is Leo included in that?
Okay.
choose at least 3.
So
I think you can keep them in mind, just like last time for the
Okay.
mental. Not everyone will be available for the call, the initial conversation, but whenever, if we do get to the point where we do have something more structured, everyone would be invited.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Any
So
other questions
Yeah.
with that,
Comments?
this topic?
suggestion. Yes, Carlota.
For the education idea, would we also be talking about drug prevention between both borders?
I honestly don't know. I think we should talk about that when we organize this better. But I think we should also do that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea so you get perspective on both sides.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So anything else?
I think if you all have additional ideas, you can filter them through Leo, and then once we move forward, he can kind of be your voice for it.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Anything else? No? Moving on to the next topic, discussion with possible action on a drive-in movie theater event hosted by the LYC. So Carlota made I guess you could say like, an agenda of like the budget, how it's gonna work.
This is
So I'm gonna let it present it to you.
This is essentially just a pitch of what the budget and what we need for the movie theater, and obviously a lot of this will have to be approved by
The council.
like someone higher.
The council themselves.
The council in itself, thank you. The overview of it is land, movie license, screening, screens, advertisements, and most importantly, budget. The goals of this project is to raise money for our annual project and to bring our community together. Now moving on, the land in itself that we need for the drive-in movie theater, we will need about 10 to 14 acres of land. I was wondering if there is some land, some private or public land that we could use. Yet again, that is another topic that needs to be discussed by the actual council in itself. The digital projectors typically cost between $75,000 to $150,000. Most screens are made by steel and anchored by concrete, but there are also screens made out of fabric that we could use for the first year until we start actually making real revenue. Then we can continue. Then we can go on to upgrade to a concrete or steel screen. The most common way to handle the audio for a drive-in movie theater is using radio transmitters. This allows the film to be delivered to the car radios. So there's portable radios that most drive-in movie theaters use that they give you, and you plug it into your car radio so you're able to hear the movie within the space of your car. I was unable to find an average for the price of each individual radio. The film license will vary between film to film. The licensing fee is usually paid as a percentage of the total ticket sales, which I will talk about later. It will obviously vary between name and brand and everything. I will have to, one good thing that I found was the cost of a classic film like Casablanca or West Side Story, the 1961 version, yes, will actually reduce in the price of the film, in the price of the license. But if we want something newer like Barbie or an Avengers movie, it will have to cost more, the license too.
I have a question. If this were to go on around December time, do you think maybe we could do like a Christmas?
One thing that I will have to point out is that this project will not happen for an average of 1 month to 3 months.
So then like around January,
So around like January,
February,
we
Valentine's?
will not be able to do a December one because of all the planning that is involved within this and the screening and the licenses, and I think we will have to consider an LCC, which is a permit to do all of this.
Karen?
Can I interrupt?
Mhm.
You did a lot of homework. I'm very glad. So this kind of gives at least me to help you an idea of where you are heading. I think just so that this sounds like a good idea, and I know we mentioned this before about the money. I don't know if you would also consider, our parks department does like movies in the park sometimes, and they use, it's not an official drive-through, but I think they have an inflatable screen, right? They have an inflatable screen and they have a sound system. They do license some movies. I don't know if that is something you all would consider.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Well, hold on. So just because Gabriel doesn't want to present, just something for you to consider as you continue your.
That I'm sorry, but that's actually amazing news. Because I was really worried, and I was actually gonna ask you if we could get investors.
So I think now that if you can share this with me, I think we can have a conversation to see how much this would cost, and because you are a city committee, could we help fund this? Maybe you don't charge because it's not a drive-through per se, but what if you all sell snacks, right? Everyone bakes something and you can sell to your friends, or you can ask for donations there, something.
Carlota, real quick, would it be like an actual drive-through where people bring their cars and watch a movie in there? Or would it be more like a park picnic thing?
That's actually a point that I wanted to point out. One thing that could greatly reduce our budget, but also maintain the profit, is a picnic idea. But this idea, the one that I am presenting to you all, is an actual drive-in. But we can consider a picnic version of it. The profits income will mostly come through ticket sales. I don't think we could make as much as we want to if we make it free.
That is impossible if we do it at a park, right?
It's because I have a question. It's just like, how is this gonna work? Like, let's just say we sell the tickets, right? It's because we're selling it to make profit on our own. Would we be selling food there? So like that, half the donation. So let's just say we say, okay, 50% will go to the LYC. Because I feel like if it's just, let's say they pay for the ticket and they go, they're buying their own food outside. So are we technically making any profit?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Continue.
Like it could be both, like tickets and we sell stuff. My thing is if you can charge for a ticket at a public park, I don't know how that works.
Layla has a question.
How are you gonna mitigate the amount of people that will potentially just go in without paying for a ticket?
Yeah.
Are you gonna have a portion of the idea where you just drive in for free, but you pay a small fee to get the radio transmitter in your car for the drive-in idea, or like do you pay for snacks if it's the picnic idea?
No, my idea was for them to pay for the tickets for the actual drive-in movie theater. To mitigate how many people are gonna come in for free.
Like try to sneak in, like without paying.
That is another conversation.
So I have a question. What if we get stickers? So when they pay on the entrance, you know who came in free or not. They give them a little sticker and you put it on the windshield.
So when they're passing by, let's just say we have security, they'll be able to say, okay, you know what, you paid,
I
you
like
did
that
it.
idea.
We can get little stickers and put it on the windshield.
And how we? Oh, I'm so sorry.
First, are parks not public? Like, aren't parks public?
Parks are public. Yes.
So how can we stop them from going?
So for example, a 5K, we do 5Ks in the park all the time, right? So a nonprofit does a 5K there. You can't, we don't close a park, right? Can someone run the same trail right now as the 5K? Probably, but they're not gonna get a shirt, they're not gonna get a medal, but they can probably, you know, just be around the area. So in a park, I mean, that could happen. That was why I was you're not gonna make as much money, but I have for your project, but I have looped in Victoria to conversations. Utilities is willing to work with you all. You just need to get back to them to see what the cost would be. So you're not starting from scratch for your project.
And Charlene?
Oh wait.
No,
I'm sorry.
the first one who raised up their hand was you, and then it was Leo, and then Shirley.
I was gonna say, what if someone tries to like, let's say we do the drive-in, right, with the car. What if let's just say we say no food allowed, so you can buy food from markets and stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would we prevent people from like sneaking people in their car, like just pay for themselves, and then they have someone in there, or they have food around their car? We can't check their car because
No.
it's their car.
To be honest, there's no actual way. Like,
Yeah, I mean, just think of so then we would be losing profit, wouldn't we?
we wouldn't be losing profit.
I mean, just think of it as a movie theater. People sneak in food all the time, but doesn't mean they're losing profit.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not.
I was gonna say if we want to get like security guards, how we will do
That
it.
is
I
another
think-
conversation.
I think you should consider, someone should consider making like a motion to do your event,
Yeah.
but amend it to a movie, to consider working with the city, so you don't need all the money to do a movie in the park, and you can also be the lead, because I think a lot of your idea can translate to that, and that's more
I would actually really appreciate that.
be more probable. So if someone is willing to,
Motion to go
So,
through.
Share had a question.
Oh, he had a
Oh, it's
question.
really quick. I'm licensed to be security guard actually.
you're what?
I'm licensed to be security guard.
No, that's
Oh, okay.
And I have a couple of friends who are also licensed, so
So if you need
I just
something-
need always just get an agency, which we have at school, and then a personal agency, and it's not profitable, so if they want, I'm pretty sure I can convince them to do
Oh,
it.
that's awesome. Okay.
Okay, so and so for the advertisements, are we just gonna do it through Laredo's page, or are we just gonna go to high schools? Because I feel like you could get a lot of income if you were to advertise at high schools.
yes, that was the idea, but there is certain like regulations with social media, but I would actually really like to advertise in communities.
Because I'm
based
in, I'm in close contact with my student coordinator from United, and I mean we could put flyers up in United. They always do
I don't
that.
think advertisement would be a big issue.
Yeah. But I was just asking, like, is it just city wise, or can I go to my high school?
You can-
Oh,
can
it's
post it
all
anywhere.
over Laredo.
Okay.
It's may I say the profit margin that I came up with before. So this will take up to 1 month to 3 months to develop. So we wouldn't be able to do a Halloween nor a Thanksgiving nor a Christmas special, which it's sad. In the first year or two, we can hold 3 screenings per week, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It could hold up to 125 cars. We could charge up to $20 per vehicle, and then sell. If we are able to sell $10 per person in the concession stand, so that just say everyone buys at least $10 worth of stuff, we would be able to make $1,700,000 in profits, assuming that there's a 20% margin. I will say that this will make a profit, but there is certain stuff that we can do to make the profit even bigger. Does that make
So
sense?
117,000 you would make
Yes.
after expenses?
After expenses, and then we would.
After paying for the movie, after paying for everything.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, if you pay for like every movie,
That's
every
what's on-
weekend.
This is just calculator math. No, this is just calculator math. So it's not. I'm not saying this is how much I will make.
And that's based on how many people attending.
Yes.
Like how many? Like what number did you use? To get?
125.
125 people?
Now,
Vehicles.
okay, 3 times a
Vehicles.
week is really, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yes,
I
I
don't know
know.
that's possible.
Maybe once a
And
week.
then,
Maybe by month.
Once every like 2.
I don't think we can
Once every
do
2
bi-monthly if we
How
want to
so?
make the profit that we
Karen,
want to
If
make.
you also want, I do think you guys should try this just once first, like
Mhm.
a movie in the park. Because if you do want the city support and stuff, it's not, we are not built to do this
Mhm.
every time, that this would come up. So I would just keep that in mind.
Maybe like every major holiday.
Yeah, I
Or
feel
every
like
major event.
So
I
I
would-
can see New Year's, I can see Valentine's, and I
Yeah,
can see end of
Thanksgiving,
school.
Christmas.
So that's 3 guaranteed.
And I think personally you would make more profit per person. So like let's say a car has 5 people, you charge per person instead of per person.
Okay.
Like I feel like you would make more profit.
Think of it like the Halloween ranch that they have. They charge per person and they're making a lot of profit.
Yeah.
Because if there's 5 people, you just lost $80 right there.
Yeah, or like what if they stuff 10 people in one
Guys,
single car?
but you guys are talking not about profit, and remember why you're here. You're here as a youth council to work on projects with the city and give recommendations. And your projects that you're working towards are, one, the garden, okay? I'm already telling you that the city, you're working with a department to do it, and you're going to have money. Your purpose here is not to do events to raise money. That's aside. Your purpose is to give recommendations and work with, with the city. So keep that in mind. I think you guys are very focused on the profit part, and that's not why you're here. We're not here to give you a second job as well and take a lot of your time, because these things take time to plan. You guys are meeting a lot here, which is good, but you also need time to actually activate something. So just focus on why you're here.
Would it ever be possible to have like a meet, or like where some of us meet up, or like if we all meet up and we just simply work on that one thing? Like for example, like with Carlota, right? She has this idea, like it's like we have a meeting, right? But we sit down and we, like you said, talk about the topic. Okay, write things down. Okay, this is how we're gonna
You
do
can
it.
do like half of you,
With the committees.
Yeah.
I feel like
and
it
you
would be
can have a larger committee.
I feel like it would be a great way to test this idea out. I feel like it would be a great way to make it at the park, get the inflatable one. It's cheaper, but it would be like better. Are we allowed to play like movies from like let's say Netflix?
I have to see if we get the permission, but I can sell that more, like a movie in the park with the inflatable.
Yeah.
I think you could even spin it and say, you can go, and you can also, if you invite your friends, high school students, you can get ideas, recommendations to give to the city there too. So you're doing not
Market
just an
research.
event.
And I'm pretty sure you just sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's okay. You can go.
I'm pretty sure just for the movie, you have to pay, you have to like
You
buy
have
the
to
film.
pay the license.
Yeah, if you're gonna sell the tickets, right? But if it's for free,
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure if it's for free, if you're letting people watch the movie for free, you're not making a profit from it. So
Oh no, you still have to pay for it.
Really?
Mhm.
So you need to pay it from Netflix or anything?
Huh?
You need to pay it from like Netflix and
No. Yeah, no, because that's for personal use.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So
sure
then
that- sorry. No,
Go
it's
ahead.
okay, Go.
I feel like it would be like you'd be in the park, the inflatable, and maybe like we sell things through the concession stands. I feel like a great way to start off like small, so people can see where we're going with the idea.
I think to add on to that, we could do that a picnic style
Yeah,
small,
that's like part.
but we are still gonna have to sell tickets to actually make a profit, because so we are able to pay for the license and for the
Which
screening.
is like
How much is license? It varies. I couldn't find an actual number.
It depends on the movie.
It depends on the movie and how much. And to choose the movie, I would like to conduct market research, because yes, there is a lot of people with a lot of different ideas, but I would like to conduct an actual market research.
My suggestion for you would be to make a motion to work towards a movie in the park
Mhm.
in January. And then, so that's a lot easier to work with. I can see if we have funds to help you, and that might make this a lot easier, so that maybe you can raise a little bit for your project.
Thank you.
Do you think maybe for New Year's would be, because if we start from now to New Year's, I think it would be a good thing, because a lot of people go to the park to watch the fireworks, so you'll have the fireworks there and you'll have the movie theater. So it's like they're going to spend New Year's together, right? You have the concession stand open, they're selling snacks. And because it's New Year's, a lot of people like to go to the park. to go watch it, I feel like that would be like the perfect opportunity
Well,
to make.
That might be harder for us because that means we would have to pay staff to be there on a holiday. So,
That's true.
but we don't have to put a date on it right now. If you guys just make a motion to look into it, and then we also have to see when are dates available. When does, you know, they can tell us when the weather is usually good. How long does it take to set this up to give you more
This
realistic?
is its own little thing, but I would like to further discuss the dates because I do not fully agree with the bi-monthly seasonal idea.
My recommendation would be for you to just move forward right now with
Yes.
Maybe we can just move forward right now and then just see where this goes. You can meet with them like she said. She can talk to them, you can talk to them as well, get in contact with them, and then from there, more than likely, they'll be the ones to be able to give you a date because we really can't give you a date since we're only here discussing the topic, not like the date.
Yes, I
You know?
understand. Motion to
Adjourn, right?
No.
Not adjourn.
No,
Motion to-
someone can make a motion to proceed with a movie in the, amend it to a movie in the park, you get a second, and we can go to the next item.
a motion to amend a movie, movie in a park.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, and then the next, I think you, Jamie.
Yes, so on to the next item, discussion with possible action, oh no, that's, okay. Update with possible action on mental health workshops at schools.
So recently, I, along with Layla and Victoria here, met with Barbara Escamilla, who is the manager for community mental health at the health department, and we were discussing if there was any ways we can bring mental health presentations to our schools. So specifically, dealing with maybe anxiety or depression or even self-care, and we basically just discussed it and whether we can talk to whoever coordinates these sort of events at our schools and whether they would be possible.
And my recommendation to them was, so Layla was on the call, Damien and Victoria. The health department gave them 3 dates. So to work with them to try to get those 3 dates first, and then depending on how that goes, start offering it to the other schools as well through the youth council.
I have the dates if you want me to read them.
No, it was November 7th.
November 7th, November 9th, November 10th, and November 17th. All at 10 a.m.
And I have a question. How would you make it fun and like different? Because I mean, in my school we get a lot of mental health things, and like,
So-
how would it be different from the others? Like, how do kids actually
what
pay
we
attention?
discussed and what we wanted to do was, like we said, there's a lot of kids right now that are suffering from mental health illness. It's not just about, having a presentation and then leaving. What we wanted to do was workshops. So what we were gonna do is after school, whether we can get the library or a place at our school to have it accessible for us to have stations. So we have the presentation, we talk to them, we give them advice, and then we say, okay, after school we're gonna have workshops. One section we're gonna have canvassing and painting. The other section we're gonna have arts and crafts. Another section is gonna be like speaking on your emotions. Like it's just something fun for them to do to get off their mind. That's what we were planning on doing. When it's something that I feel would be beneficial, but of course we wouldn't call it a mental health discussion because you really can't use those terms in school because then you don't know if that kid can go like crazy or something, because we really can't use those words because when I told them that, they're like, you can't really use those words. We'd have to make it into like a relaxing, self-care, relaxing.
So
yeah.
I think the topic that was given to them was like anxiety. So you're not talking, about
Super general. Carlota.
So to add on to that, it's more of a two-part question. Would you be able to work with rehab centers?
That would actually be something separate to my knowledge. So she did mention the possibility of us hosting workshops, us working with a public library to host something for the public, something of that nature. If you would like to do something like that, I would definitely recommend to do more research into it. I love that idea. I love working in rehab centers. I love volunteering in the community, so I love where your head's at.
And like local AA meetings and stuff like that, and also teaching with the library, we could
Well,
also teach children of how to take
The
care
thing
of
is,
themselves.
we're mainly focusing on schools, teenagers, and I guess if we realize the fact there are some teenagers who are alcoholics, not the vast majority of people in AA are adults. This is more geared towards the youth.
The youth, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it'd be important to, like in terms of advertising it to arouse interest in it, changing the title because mental health workshop kind of sounds
That's
more
exactly
like
what we.
Because
That's
just
that's
the
what I
broad
said.
idea. It's a broad
Yeah,
idea.
that's what I'm saying. We cannot. It's like under the UIC thing. When I spoke to the head counselor from the Department of UISD and my student activity coordinator, she said we can't call it mental health or anxiety. It has to be something like more self-care, yeah, something like that, like a fun day. We can't call it that.
This is really just a rough draft of it.
Because you never know, because you never know if, like, let's say we start speaking on that, you don't know if, like, that person might react to it in a very bad way and they go home and they do something or, like, they say something. So it has to be very careful on how we say it, who says it, and what's the topic we're going to talk about, because we can't talk about everything together. We can't talk about depression, anxiety, and all that. It can only be one. You have to choose a topic. You know?
You had a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, are we gonna be the ones giving the talk, or they're gonna be like the people from the health?
We would coordinate alongside with the people from the city who give the talks. We were actually talking about whether or not maybe we could give our own personal like anecdotes.
Yeah, because I think people would like connect more and will, you know.
And also that the schools can know that this was presented by the LYC and, you know, just inform them more on what we do.
But you have to be very careful with that because you can't be the one providing the information. The actual professional does.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't give a testimonial. But another thing that was mentioned in this meeting was that we can request a certain topic because they have many presentations that they do on multiple topics in relation to mental health. So if you feel that your school needs a particular topic to be informed upon, or like to, you know, that targets your student population, then please recommend it.
This is more of a suggestion for one of the workshops, but many studies have shown that when you are involved more in nature, that it boosts your mental health. So one workshop that you could do is that you can go to a local park, get a bunch of, well, you can get donations, like let's just say you can get donations for art supplies and then give volunteer hours. So you have the art supplies, you give them to the students or teenagers or the youth in itself, and they're able to paint the scenery in the park.
Well, I assume that's the intent of the painting. They mentioned that.
It was going to be a part of it.
No, I mean like in the, like
With
do it in
nature.
a park.
It'd have to be one of the weather conditions to, like, it'd be more something we'd have to bring up with them to coordinate.
How big would it be?
How big would it be? How many students? Is this
Can
gonna
we
be?
reserve the
Is this
area?
going to be a school thing or is this going to be a
This
Laredo
is just
thing?
a suggestion.
No, yeah, I know. I'm just
I believe
saying.
the school thing's probably the best. I don't think.
It is the best, honestly.
Because we speak directly to the youth. Jose, did
Yeah.
you?
Any other
Any?
questions?
And
I was like,
This video?
And you were saying, Tori, that you spoke with the UISD director or
The
something?
director for counselors, yeah, for all the UISD counselors, because there's a head department.
LISD and then
For mine was for UISD.
I know a
But
bit
I'm-
fast. If you're gonna do all high schools,
yeah, we have
LISD.
to do it.
Oh yeah, well, when
Yes.
one takes it up, a lot of times they'll match or.
And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're not gonna say no because it does benefit the kids, and today
So-
it is Mental Health Awareness Month.
So you
And
both
LSD is
talk-
more usually lenient.
And I think it would be good before we reach out to the other districts and even other schools to see, because right now it's very vague, like we don't even know what to call it, and then, you know, hey, this is exactly what we're doing, now you actually have a plan.
Yeah, because it's like to give it as like we're trying it first to see how it's gonna go, and if it goes well, then okay, we can expand it out to the other schools as well. You know.
This is gonna be like kind of like a test.
Yeah.
Like right now, currently, my admin loved the idea. It's just in October we're swamped. My counselor has not been able to reach out to me. She's the one who kind of coordinates these kinds of presentations for my student population, and she's been swamped with advisory meetings, especially for registering for classes for the spring semester. So I will have an update on when Skies Academy does approve such presentation. I don't know about y'all schools, what updates y'all have.
For my school, things move very slowly. I know that my counselor and my coordinator have already had meetings and that they've discussed potential dates and that they would get back to me on them.
Yeah, mine as well. She told me that it sounded like a great idea, but right now we have October very booked, along with a little bit of November. So I did speak to my counselor. She said she was gonna give me back a date because she wanted to meet. I guess like they're at school with Karen, the health department, me, and the principal, and the activity coordinator. So we can see, okay, how is this gonna go? Who's gonna speak first? What time to what time? How's it gonna happen? So she was supposed to give me a date yesterday, but because she wasn't here, she was supposed to give it to me today, but she was in a meeting. So she said more than likely tomorrow to stop by her office in the morning, and then from there I can give the information to Karen. So if you guys come up with a date, do you want them to tell me and then I let you know, or would you like for them to let you know?
Whatever you want.
Is there any ideas for presentations, or would you guys rather a presentation at your school or a workshop at your school?
I think
Definitely
workshop.
workshop. Presentations they're not taken very seriously.
But if anything, are we going to focus on all the grades, maybe specific grades, because that does change everything.
I think
open
you also
workshop.
have to hear from that from your schools.
Yeah.
We have to work individually.
I think it's good to have it open so that the people who are actually interested go. Because I mean, a presentation, there's people who.
Yeah,
then
they
again,
mess around.
we don't want it to be forced either. Like I don't want to. It's like me. Like I wouldn't want to be forced to go to a presentation. I don't want to go. I would rather go on my own willingly. So I also think probably workshops are better because when you announce it, you're not forcing them to go. They're choosing to go on their own.
You help those who actually want it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I was gonna say, are we gonna have a workshop per school, or is it gonna be like one for all of them?
Well, we discussed that, and there was either where we could do one like small workshops within the school, or as Victoria was mentioning, how we maybe asked the library if we could use the space to do one big workshop available to all the schools.
But no, I think that's why we're trying to figure it out with only 3 schools right now and see how that works before we kind of expand it.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions, comments, ideas?
No.
Move on.
Okay. Moving on to the next. Other businesses. No.
Well, the garden. What do you have? Things we have on the garden?
Okay, so I have tried to email them. I tried emailing them to my school account, and it wasn't working. I don't know why, because it's like not affiliated. I can't text them through my school account.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can put me on my actual email, because I tried it. So just put me on it so like that I can respond to them.
Okay.
I would say maybe I get in contact with them. Maybe we can set up, because I know I had read the email and they said they wanted a. What did they say that they wanted? They wanted a
Plan.
A plan. So we need to come up with a plan, because I can't just tell them, oh,
But
I want to do it.
I think you need to get on a call with them.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say, but that's what I'm asking them. Like, I can't just say, oh, we want to have a garden. Like, I need you guys to tell me, okay, what is it that we're gonna do in the garden? Well, what is the visual? What do you see? So
But
I can.
I think you have to talk with them first to also see what you can do before you get.
Okay, so then we can set up a meeting.
Or a subcommittee, so that way they can be present for the
But
meeting.
I think because it's the like annual
Because
project.
it's the annual project,
Yes.
maybe we should have a subcommittee where.
Well, before we start, how about we explain what we're discussing? To have
Oh,
more
yeah.
So, okay. Essentially, we as a Laredo Youth Council, we do one annual project a year. It's the main project that we focus on and build up to. We decided to do a community garden, where we're unsure whether exactly whether we're going to become a part of. Maybe we're going to work with another garden that's already established, or build our own space. But it's eventually going to be for the community. It's going to deal with environmental, and so that we can have a lasting impact here for even when we graduate and move on.
But how is a community garden exactly impactful? Because I hear community gardens all the time, and they're not in my books. They're not
So-
really impactful at all.
So part of the reason that they brought this up was because they were at the utilities department, and not necessarily a community garden like, hey, come see food and come see plants, but they have a space that they've been trying to build out, and they've heard a lot about water usage and how low we are on water in Laredo, and a lot of that happens here is because of how many people here have super nice grass, and that grass is not native, like Ruby was saying. A lot of the plants here, so they take up so much water. And utilities has this space that can be used to promote native plants and native areas. So the idea is for the youth council to work with that, and can also present that and use it as an end of the year as examples as to what type of gardening should be done.
Not only that, but we were planning on maybe having the community come with us to help us build the garden, help us plant the seeds, and help us to grow it and develop it.
And get like schools involved for community service hours and stuff like that.
That's
But
possible.
the main goal is just to get kids our age especially more engaged, because we lack that in Laredo. Because people like kids our age be like, oh, it's boring, nothing to do. Like,
No hay nada.
there's so the whole point is just to see like, okay, let's give an opportunity and let's try to actually get kids engaged and see how that goes. And we also want to benefit the community at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. So, any ideas, visuals that you see?
I see cacti.
Oh, a native captain?
I think we should already start compiling a list of native plants.
You want me to write it down or you write it down?
I can write it down. Well, because I prefer my
I
handwriting.
think they have that.
You okay?
I have them. So, it's because, so I think we should already start compiling a list of what native plants we want to include. Because even though the plants are going to be native, that doesn't mean that all the native plants are going to work well together.
Yeah.
So we have to see which ones are going to cost the most, are going to use the most water, and how they're going to work with one another. and whether because we don't even know the type of soil yet that we're gonna use.
Yeah.
And that's very
That's why before I think you discussed here, I think you should have the call Victoria first.
Okay. So yeah, I'll have the call, and then after we can probably discuss when we're gonna be meeting again, because it's a garden. We can't just go once a month. We have to go at least twice, 3 times a month, and actually
That's
put in
on the minimum.
the minimum. So at least try to put in the garden, because if not, we're never gonna finish it. So you guys have to be committed to this.
Not
Okay.
just that. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, it's
later.
okay.
So are we gonna have a special meet for this, or?
So maybe what Karen can do, she can set up a meeting. I don't know if you would want to meet again, try to get them to see when they can come and meet. And maybe if it's next week or the following, we can have a meeting and they can come and I can present to them, we can present to them like our ideas. And then from there, hear back from them. I suggest some of us bring a notebook, a notepad, and pens, so we can write it down, because again, this is the year, annual project, so. Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Do you think maybe next week?
I have to check their calendar.
Okay.
I know I probably can't do next week.
Yeah.
That's just.
For the following, maybe the following?
I think we can also maybe try a virtual and whoever
Yeah.
joins.
Yeah.
I like the virtual meeting idea because it's more flexible. Because I know
Yeah,
a lot of us,
definitely.
not everybody drives.
But it's because I know sometimes, like when we tried doing the one for the health department, it kind of interfered with school hours. And I know some of us are in sports or in UIL, so.
We can try for a little bit later. if
Yeah, it's
needed.
still better than.
Or if anything, or
Just
maybe
one
during the
hour.
weekends if they're willing to give up that time.
Maybe for everyone?
I don't know about that one.
Eh.
Yeah. I feel like that's even worse.
It's like an hour.
Like,
think
we'll
virtual's
give
better.
it that one ticket as times. So-
Okay.
Is there any possible way where I could talk about something new?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other business.
Well, this is for specifically juniors, so can people like raise their hands if they're juniors? Juniors? Okay, that's a good majority. So I'm part of an organization, it's called National Hispanic Institute, and right now we're very low in Laredoans specifically. I went last year, and I was only one of 3 Laredoans that went, and I was wondering if we could bring that back this region, because me and my partner from NHI, that's what we're trying to do, and it's a very good opportunity. I met with the, what's her name, the congresswoman for New York.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's part of the National Hispanic Institute. She even made me a letter of recommendation for something that I plan to do. You guys get beautiful like recommendations and beautiful connections. And I don't know, it was just something that I wanted to bring up because I want to bring back this region. It's very important. And honestly, it's just a bunch of North Texas that's coming to these regions.
And what are the requirements?
The requirements, just like how it is right now, you just send in your application. There's no letters of record or anything. You just send in your GPA, you send in what you're involved in, and that's it.
And is there like a fee that needs to be paid?
So speaking of that, I'm with my coordinator right now, and we're trying to get scholarships for individual schools. I know right now we worked at Nixon, and we're getting, I believe, 55% of all of it. And that's just with one school, and I know for UISD schools, we are paying all of it.
And what about charter schools such as Harmony?
Charter schools, Harmony, that's what we came to work on. But that's why I actually wanted to join the council because of NHI. I mean, honestly, it changed my life, and I know it will change all of your guys.
So you can also share that application, that information with me or with Victoria, and we can send it out to everyone here.
Yeah, so that way we can not only tell us, but so that way we can spread it to our schools and we can help receive more applicants.
I've already
that
spread
way.
it with mostly of UISD schools and some of LISD schools. I've worked with Nixon and Martin. I've done presentations there. But for schools like Harmony and Stags, that's what I'm trying to work at.
Give me a holla.
I guess. Ex-United girl.
Sorry.
Is that it?
Huh?
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I had to say. Like, I wanted to bring up NHI because it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Aside from the garden, do we have any other environmental awareness focused ideas? No?
I know she had mentioned that she does community service hours.
Yes,
Do you
I
think
wanna-
maybe we could partner
Yeah.
with them?
Yes, I think you can. So I'll check with her when I get the contact information, if there's any cleanups or something where you all can participate as a group.
Karen, I was wondering, do you have the what's it called? You gave us a paper when we were first inducted that told us the rules, laws, certain guidelines.
I sent it to you guys by email, but I can resend it.
I just want to double check. One of the things is that we cannot miss more than 3 meetings.
Mhm.
So means that I was wondering if we could talk about that because I feel like that could at times be unfair. Because what if we are generally just unable to make it?
So that is not specific to you guys, that is for any city committee. And so that is not, that one we can't change.
And does it go by annually, biannually?
I think it's annually.
Okay.
Oh, and I have a question. Since I submitted the wrong email for my application, I was
You can
wondering.
give me the new, yeah.
I was wondering if you could put my acceptance email like to my
That's
right.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I saw. I just had it on.
Any other business?
So but the meetings. So I know we have continuous meetings, right? I know it's kind of hard for some of us to make every single one of them. If we miss a sub meeting, is that
Well,
count against us or?
No, so that's what I was gonna say. You guys have been meeting a lot. As long as you make to one meeting a month, you're good because that's really how committees should be meeting. Any of the other additional meetings are okay. So like, let's say you all decided to meet next week. If you're here this week, that's fine. This was your regular meeting.
Okay.
And who's keeping track of who's coming, who's not coming?
It should be me out.
Okay, so
Also, we also can do through Zoom now if we are unable to attend the meeting in person.
But
It
you have to
depends
have a
on-
quorum.
Yeah, it depends on the room and it depends on quorum. And so it's hard to say yes. I know you did it the first time, but it's very hard to plan that a lot, like with a lot of lead time. So, for excruciating circumstances.
okay, are we done?
You have a
Any
motion?
other questions?
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.